Welcome back to another beekeeping video. It has been a long time. I think it's been close to 2 years since I made a video. So in 2023, which was my second year beekeeping, I lost my hives again. And I'm pretty confident it was due to disease, varroa mites, etc. And so I stopped. I had some material left to make videos with, but I didn't. Just didn't feel very motivated. And then last year I was focused on trying to keep my bees alive, and I was not putting any effort into making videos. But the good news is I did make it through the winter last year with my with two beehives, which you can see here, and it went well enough that I'm actually going to expand up to 4 hives this year. So what you're seeing is me putting in the cement blocks for another hive stand for this year. And so I've learned a lot of things from the first couple of years of beekeeping, and finally making it through a winter. But probably the most important lesson has been that mites are not to be trifled with. And so now I'm taking them much more seriously than I did before. So this stand I'm putting a little bit closer to the ground than the other one. I think the first stand that I put in is needlessly far off the ground. And part of the reason that I'm trying to get it closer to the ground is because these beehives can get pretty tall when you've got a whole bunch of honey supers on them. So to avoid having to lift heavy things over my head, I'm trying to put this closer to the ground. And I think the 2 hives that I currently have are going to wind up on this stand, and then the new hives are going to wind up on the old stand. But both of my hives pulled through the winter very well. They're a different variety than the ones that I used the first or the second year. The first year I had Italians. The second year I had Saskatraz. These ones are like a Caucasian Carniolan Italian hybrid of some sort, but they favor Caucasian genetics. And the Caucasians are from the Caucasus Mountains, which is a region just south of sort of sandwiched between Russia and like Georgia, Armenia, Azerbaijan, that part of the world. So all of the hive stand stuff was from sometime in February, and now we're looking at my first inspection of the hives, which I did in March, at the beginning of this month. It was on the 1st. And so what you can see happening here is I've taken the top covers off of the hives, and I'm now removing a layer of insulation that I put on for the winter. It's just a layer of foam insulation with aluminum foil wrapped around it, which I don't think is particularly orthodox, but the foil is just to reflect heat back down into the hive. So now you can see I've got the inner cover pried off. There's a bunch of bees on there. Oh, and it was a very windy day, which is one of the reasons I've got the sound so low for all of the portions of the video that are dealing with the inspection. It was very windy. I don't think I actually should have opened up the hives this day. The temperatures were fine, but the wind was probably sufficient to chill the brood. So I don't know that I should have been in there. We've just skipped forward a little bit. So I was looking at the top box, there is brood in there. They seem to be doing well. They pulled through winter quite well. The hive that I'm in right now, the one that is on the left as we're looking right now, is stronger than the one on the right. I'm making a bunch of modifications to the hives this year. One of the things I'm doing is I'm adding what you're seeing right here, which is called a slatted rack. So I use what's called a screened bottom board, which means the bottom surface, the floor of the hive, is actually a screen. It's not solid wood. And then there's an insert that goes in under that makes it solid for the purposes of keeping out drafts and so on and so forth. But I can remove that if I like. I've had them in all winter, but I can take them out. And so anyway, what the slatted rack does is it gives them a little bit more room to not have light coming up into the hive. They don't like that, so I'm trying to give them a little bit more space to play with. What you're seeing now is another thing that I'm trying out this year. It is actually a suite of sensors that I'm adding to this hive, just for fun to see. I don't know what sort of data I can get on the hive. So what I'm adding right here is the scale. This goes under the bottom of the hive, and as time goes on, hopefully it will become heavier as they add more, bring in nectar and so on and so forth. What you're seeing right now is a new mite testment, a new mite treatment method called Viroxan, which is an oxalic acid glycerin. So these like strips, they're like sort of like a cardboard material that's been soaked in an oxalic acid glycerin solution. And the idea is that that's going to off-gas over time and fill the hive with sort of like oxalic acid vapor, I guess, which hopefully will kill mites. That's the idea. The oxalic acid glycerin is supposed to be really good for keeping mite numbers low. It's not very good for bringing them down in the first place. So if your mite numbers are already low, it's great. If your mite numbers are high, it's not so great. And then I don't know if you can really see it, but a little while back there, I did add a sensor. You can sort of see the shadow on the bottom box that is sandwiched between the first box and the second box, and that is a temperature sensor. So I'll be able to see what temperature it is in the brood area. And what I'm doing now is I'm putting in more Viroxan strips right now. But you might have seen I moved some frames out of that box and into a third box, which is now between the two hives. And that third box is not going to remain part of this hive indefinitely. I mentioned I'm going to go up to 4 hives this year. So what I'm doing here is most of the frames in that third box are foundation. There's no wax on them. And so you can see I just added another sensor. You can see the shadow of it on the handle of the second layer of the box. But at any rate, I'm trying to get them to draw a bunch of comb in that third box for me so that when I give that box to my new hives, they'll have some comb to work with and they won't have to start from scratch. That's the idea. But as far as the sensor suite, it's the scale, which you can see under the hive. And then you can see the shadow of the temperature sensor between the first box and the second box. It's sort of to the right of the handle on the bottom box. And then the shadow of the last remaining sensor on the handle of the second box. That one is both a temperature and a humidity sensor. And I'll show you what the data looks like from those later. The other thing that I did with both of my hives was I reversed the brood chambers. So one of the things that can happen over the course of the winter is when bees go into winter, they've got all of their food stores up high. They like to keep all of their honey up high in the box. And over the course of the winter, they'll move from down below where they've got their brood, where the queen is laying eggs, where there's room, where the honey isn't. Over time, they'll move up into the higher box because they'll eat the food that's closest at the bottom of the top box. And then they'll start, moving up closer to be close to the food as they eat it. And so what you'll wind up with when you come into spring is all the bees have moved up into the top box and the bottom box is largely empty. I didn't think that was really the case in either of my hives, but the conventional wisdom is that you reverse the chambers, so I did it anyway. I really don't think it was necessary, and I don't know, it might have even been better if I didn't, but I did do it, so. And yeah, you can see I've added the slatted racks, the slatted rack underneath this hive as well, and I'm now adding the Viroxan strips to try to keep the mite levels down. This is a treatment that's been tried in other countries, and a variant of it has been tried here in the U.S., although you had to home make it for many years. So this is the first commercial product to come to market to treat mites this way. So it'll be interesting to see how it goes. At least as the first commercial product to come to the market in the U.S. to do it this way. It was approved by USDA sometime late last year, I think. So I'm doing some last little checks on the brood in these boxes. I was looking for the queen in both boxes. I wasn't able to find her this day. I I did get back in here a week later, and I was able to locate the queen in this box, but I still haven't found her in the box with all the sensors on it. I apologize if you were looking forward to seeing any frames up close. I didn't get any video of that this time. So as of time of recording this is the 16th of March, the day that I'm recording this. I did get into the boxes last week, but I didn't take a video of it. Not much exciting happened. I did locate the queen in the hive that I'm in right now, but otherwise it was just sort of checking in. I will say one other difference that you'll notice is the top cover on both hives is different now. I'm using what's called a migratory cover. And one of the things I did do last week that probably would have warranted taking a video was I added pail feeders, like upside down buckets that I'm using to feed sugar syrup this year. So we'll see how that goes. I'm hoping to use that to encourage wax production for making comb for those new hives. Those I will get in mid-April, I believe the 12th. And then, so you can see, again, I'm adding another box to this hive. So this is what the data looks like that I get from the sensors. The top chart there is the weight of the hive. So you can see it's around 160 pounds, and it's been on the decrease since I put it on 2 weeks ago. And then you can see sort of a large spike downward about a week ago. That was when I did the inspection last Saturday. And then there's a little jump up on I don't know what day that is, but March on the 11th, I guess. That little jump right there is a storm that we had, and I suspect what may have happened is that a tree branch fell on the hive. And then fell off or something. I'm not totally certain, but I believe that's what is going on there. And then the next chart down is the temperature sensors. So you recall there was one temperature sensor in above the bottom box, and then there was a temperature sensor / humidity sensor above the second box. So what you're seeing with the temperature chart there is both of those. In one is in gray and the other is in blue, and then underneath that there's a pink dotted line, and that pink dotted line is the reported ambient temperature according to a weather website. And so you can see they keep the brood chambers. They try to keep the brood chambers up in the 90-degree range, between I believe it's between 92 and 98 degrees is what it says there. And you can see they don't always quite manage that, and part of that may be that the sensors are not like really in the brood. They're kind of close to it, but they're not actually in it. But they try to keep the temperature of the brood area at that temperature because that's what's appropriate for the incubation of young bees. And then finally, the last chart you can see there is the humidity. So when I first put the sensors in there, that day that I was in there and it was really windy, I think I robbed them of all of the humidity they had in the hive. It was a very dry day in addition to being very windy, and so I think it carried off all of the moisture they had inside the hive. And so you can see it took them a number of days to sort of build back up into the like 50 to 75% range, which is what what this website at least considers normal. So yeah, there's not. I don't know that there's a ton of like real takeaway from this. One of the things that these sensors are capable of doing is you can actually see when a swarm occurs based on some of data like this. So like I think the weight would change. There would be a dip in the weight if most of the bees left. I believe. Temperature would fluctuate. I don't know what impact it would have on humidity, but that's kind of neat. So you can sort of tell if you've had a swarm. This website that I bought these sensors from is called Broodminder, and they do sell some other sensors, one of which is particularly good for sensing swarming. They have one that measures the vibrations in the hive, and that one is supposed to be just about foolproof for detecting swarms, which is pretty neat. But I don't have that one, so. But this is what I do have, and what I'm really looking forward to is to watch the weight climb up as the nectar flow begins in earnest in the next several weeks, and especially as we get into April. That should really the weight of the hive should start to climb quite a bit. Yeah, I think that's about all I have to say. The temperature is just the temperature and the humidity are just kind of cool, and you can sort of get a sense of like what things you're doing, like how much impact the things you do have on a hive. Yeah, so it'll be kind of fun to track this over time. There is actually a link that I will try to remember to put in the description of the video where you can go and look at this data yourself. It does not update live. I actually have to go out and ask the sensors in the hive to give me their data, and then they'll get uploaded off of my phone to this website. But if you'd like to see the fairly recent data on how my hives are doing, or at least how this hive is doing, you should be able to do that at the link that I'll put in the description. And then I'm going to leave you with a few minutes of entrance video from the hive on the right as you were looking at them earlier in this video. So you can just enjoy some bees coming and going. I believe this was from late February, but it might have been March 1st. I'm not totally certain. But anyway, enjoy that, and thanks for tuning in. Hopefully it'll be another good year. I did get a bunch of honey last year, and hopefully I will get twice or maybe even more than that this year, and I'll try to make some videos about that process. Enjoy the bee video.